Star Melody Yumemi Dreamer is a visual novel, RPG, rhythm game that, I'm sorry, I think the loss of hearing due to visual novels starting at full volume is starting to get to me. One of those things is not like the other. Star Melody Yumemi Dreamer is actually, in my opinion, a visual novel that attempts to cater to the anime audience as a whole using RPG and rhythm game elements. Furthermore, they are releasing based on an episodic format with 12 different parts overall making up the entire story. Even with its pacing, it feels really like it wants to be an anime. But if we're talking about 12 episode anime, it ends up feeling less like No Game No Life and more like Edo Manga Sensei. And by that, I mean, it sucks.
それは違うと思うよ。もう殺すわよ。
じゃあバトルスタート。
かっこいい。もしかしてスキャンダル冗談なのか。そうだけど。
Okay, I don't hate it that much. It just currently has a really weak start. Released January 21st, it launched with its first 2 episodes free and its season pass. I found this one whilst randomly looking for upcoming visual novels, and a good old fun magical girl story can soothe the heart, especially with the visual novels I've recently played, that take your heart and sledgehammer it like it's your mom's abusive boyfriend's toe. Now, the premise being, save the world in this magical girl rhythm adventure. Your bond becomes their strength. Let's open the door to the dream world together is pretty vague, and is immediately followed up with Play as the Magical Girl, which is about as true as me telling people the Muv Love alternative review is in the works. Yes, but actually no. You play as Kanato Kamio, a pretty bland middle school boy who has the habit of moving his mouth like he is talking, but in reality nothing comes out. We'll get to that later though. His childhood friend, fellow classmate, and girl in question, Yumemi Nanahoshi, is not soon after introduced, and well, more characters are eventually introduced, but they don't really matter in the context of this review. Basically, some villains are chasing this magical princess, and they end up going to Earth to escape them, which works well for them, but not so much the denizens of Earth who are being hunted in their dreams never to wake up again. The rest is probably pretty predictable to you, which is a large reason why I found the story pretty bland. Our middle schoolers end up being the chosen ones. Yumemi goes all Star Melody Yumemi Dreamer on the budget Transformers asses, and you either win or you lose, based on the game's discretion. You might as well go and try out the demo, which includes the first 2 chapters for free, if you are curious about this game, because I think it overall represents what this game is and will be. The plot just feels hollow. It's a really anime-y trope plot filled with trope characters that lead to expected results. I never felt particularly surprised at anything this visual novel threw at me. Furthermore, the game gives no time to develop the characters, so again, it's mostly the trope aspects of them that you can rely on in the end, which is kind of unfortunate. The non-visual novel aspects of this visual novel are, in a realistic word, terrible, and in a forgiving word, lackluster. The RPG part has no depth to it at all, and you either win or lose depending on what the story wants. If you need to win, the enemy will deal no damage to you, and if you need to lose, the enemy will deal too much damage to you. In the 4 chapters I played, this is consistent. And the rhythm game part actually had potential, if I'm being honest. I have always loved rhythm games since Guitar Hero, and put it on my wishlist because of that. And really, it's not terrible. In fact, I enjoyed the challenge of hard, since my 4-starring Through the Fire and Flames pride wouldn't let me do anything less. But then it becomes pointless, because every time you gotta do the song to beat the bad guy, it's the exact same song. So what's the point? I now understand why the options menu lets you skip these sections. I only wish they would let me skip the RPG sections, which are also basically pointless. Each chapter is approximately an hour long, so if this keeps up, for the base price of $50-some, you get 12 hours of visual novel-ish and crap RPG and rhythm. If you start it now, you can get the 10% bonuses off of the chapter releases, which would bring it down to $40-ish, which is also probably not worth it. But they also don't have a set release date. I thought they were gonna follow the current anime season, which they still could do. But since launch, Chapter 3 came after 5 days, and Chapter 4 came 4 days after Chapter 3. So there isn't a consistent schedule for you to even follow these releases. I only partially became interested by what Chapter 4 brought, which I won't spoil, but it's not going to have me go out of my way to recommend this lackluster game overall. In the end though, Since I am already 4 chapters in the hole, I will continue to the end and will probably make an updated video whenever this thing ends up being done. But right now I can't really recommend this product. I appreciate what it is trying to do, I think, and this developer has made some other popular releases such as Symphonic Rain, which also seems to include rhythm elements to high regard, which has also been on my radar for a while. But this visual novel doesn't really do anything different from a B-tier magical girl anime that you can get for 1/5 the price on Crunchyroll. Not to mention how many different B-tier magical girl animes you could watch in 1 month's time. The game doesn't have many CGs, but that is replaced with animations of the magical girls and their special attacks. It's just a pity they usually take place in the worst part of the game. The soundtrack was nothing memorable. I always appreciate characters having their mouths move when they talk, but this protagonist had about 5 voiced lines in the entire 4 chapters I played as him in, but he moves his mouth for every line, which makes sense, I guess, but because he isn't voiced, it annoys the ever-loving hell out of me. Why even give us the choice in the options menu? If I had to make a comparison, it's similar to Muv-Luv when Takeru is voiced in some important scenes and nowhere else. But in this game, he's just voiced in a random dream that Yumemi has, and that's all I can remember. The translation is actually really good, which is why I don't understand how they'd overlook some spelling errors on the save screen. It's not as big of a nitpick as the last point, but it's been why I've been calling the chapters chapters. I swear I'm not having a stroke. I only do that on Tuesdays. So in conclusion, I recommend checking out the demo and seeing what this game has to offer for yourself, if you happen to be interested in it. Again, it's an incomplete product, and I can always be moved by a strong ending, but with what I've seen so far, I'm not confident in the story nor the mechanics to pull through for me in the end. This will probably be a pretty short video, but I appreciate you watching me as always. If you're interested in any of these visual novels that you might like a review on, let me know, lest they stay in this folder where they go to die. I think I'll be replaying Wonderful every day soon, so if you have recommendations for a light-hearted romance game, please let me know, since I'm about to re-embark on one hell of a sadistic adventure. See you soon, ladies and gentlemen.